Hey, what's up? It's me, your girl E, and I'm so excited today for this author chat. I met this gentleman on Instagram. I was just scrolling through, looking for some tea, and I stumbled upon one of his posts on encouraging writers to just keep writing when the writer's block hit, when you're bored, have nothing to say, just keep writing. And that is something that I always encourage authors. The first step to writing is to write. The second step is to rewrite. So when I reached out to this gentleman on Instagram, I said, "Hey, I love your content. Will you please join me in my author chat?" He immediately said, "Absolutely." So I am honored and thankful that he took the time. So here we are. We are now joined. His name is AJ Kelly. AJ, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us with on this author chat. How are you this afternoon?
I am great. Thank you so much for asking.
So, all right. So, tell me where you're from.
Currently I live in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, born and raised. And I've been out in Phoenix for about 6 years now. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I love it better than Vegas because it's so much quieter, it's so much solitude, and there's so many more nature spots because I'm a nature person. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I love Phoenix, Arizona. I think it's a beautiful place.
So, I'm a little jealous because we are in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We had a nice little heat wave last week,
Oh
and then
wow.
the past 2 days we had to break out the sweaters. So, what's the weather like over there right now?
Very bipolar.
Okay, so
Very
you're
bipolar.
get one of our moves. Okay,
Yes,
all right.
definitely. Yes. And I will say, like, yesterday, it went from like being sunny, you know, and kind of hot to it being rainy and cold to being, sunny and cold to it being rainy again. Like, it's been like that the past couple of days. It's been pretty bipolar. Like,
Okay, so
it,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so Pittsburgh is bipolar. We can have all 4 seasons in one day. That's how Pittsburgh is. Yes. It will
That's
snow,
valid.
it'll rain, it'll be humid, and then it'll be freezing. It'll be below 0, and it's like the month of May. I'm just like, "All right." So, you just gotta be ready. Like the Bible says, "Be ye also ready." So, you gotta be ready for Pittsburgh, a day in Pittsburgh. So,
Yes.
you're experiencing one of our moves. All right, that's okay. Um, I was on Destination Vegas this month, but the plans got derailed. But nonetheless, I plan on visiting Vegas. That's going to be one of my bucket lists is to come to
Okay.
to Arizona and just but I want to be in the heat. I want to be engulfed in the heat. I'm a heat
Bro.
person, so we'll see. One day we'll see. So let's talk about your writing journey. When did you know that you wanted to be a writer?
I'm gonna be honest. I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old. And I started off writing horror stories, like a bunch of short horror stories, and they were just filled with blood and gore because I was like such a horror movie enthusiast. And it evolved from that to me writing a lot of poems and poetry. And for a while, I was just a poet. But I will be completely honest with you. It took a while for me to, boost my self-esteem when, especially when it came down to writing. So I don't think I perfected it fully, probably until I was like 16, 17. But I was still writing a bunch of stories. I have a bunch of stories in my mom's computer from when I was a teenager. I've been writing, like I said, since I was a kid. And it's just been a burning passion of mine ever since. And I put out my first poetry book. It took me until I was 29 years old to put out my very first poetry book. But I put out my very first book, which is called No Fairy Tales Allowed, which was filled with a bunch of short stories. And I put that book out. I think I was only 23 when I put that book out. And the reason for the large gap is because I'm just gonna say life kind of got in the way for a while, and I don't know if I just lost my passion for it, but
Mhm.
that's pretty much what happened. And I wrote my poetry book, The Prayers of the Black Sheep. And then it took me about 10 years to fully perfect the story for this book, but I always had the idea in my head. And right now, currently, I'm about halfway done with the first draft of book two.
Okay. Okay, so tell us about it's called Axferial. If am I saying it right?
You're saying it correctly, yes.
Okay, so tell us about your journey with Axferial. What was the inspiration behind this?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I have ideas, imaginary ideas floating through my head all day long, all the time. And it was probably one of 10 ideas that came up because I was writing down story ideas. And I was like, what if there was a whole planet full of heroes, like full of superheroes, like a whole planet full of superhumans? And what if it was futuristic? And I just started coming up with all of these ideas in my head. And I think I was like 18, or I think I was only 18 or 19 at the time. And I just started writing it down like, okay, well, the characters could be this, this, and that. And the two main characters that you see, Cam and Maxine, um, those two characters are always envisioned, but they've went through a lot of different drafts or versions of themselves. But I knew I wanted to make the main characters people of color. I knew that we needed a lot more representation with that. So I knew that was gonna be from the beginning. But I will say that this story has went through probably tens to probably hundreds of different, you know, versions. I have several drafts that I wrote down. Sometimes I would just get through chapter three and I'd be like, this is garbage. I'm not going to do this. And it took me about until almost 2 years ago for me to say, hey, this is the formula I'm going to do. So yeah, and I wrote the first draft down on paper and then I typed up the second draft and then it took me a while to edit that. Um, and then I birthed this, and this is, my proudest work. And, you know, it was really fun to write these characters. Y'all are gonna fall in love with these characters. Um, they come from two different worlds, and they find out both of the worlds are in a lot of danger, and they realize we're gonna have to save these two worlds because Axferial and Earth are the two planets that it takes place on, and they realize these two planets are in danger. I can't tell you why they're in danger,
Right,
but I'm gonna
right.
tell you that
Yeah, no
they're
spoilers.
in danger. Yes.
So when you said that you had drafts upon drafts, and then you decide, okay, this is it. This is the book. Now, authors across any author, any real author, I will say that, have written, torn away, torn it up, written, torn it up, written, torn it up. They've sat on it. Life happens, such as myself. So, how do you encourage any author to say, okay, if you're writing, if you have a story to tell, and if you're writing, how do you encourage them to keep writing, and how do you encourage them to say, this is it, stop rewriting it, this is your book?
First off, I will say that first off, you'll know when it's time. You'll know when the story's perfected. But second off, my other advice is that it's never going to be perfect. Do not strive for perfection because it's never going to be perfect. Because if you strive for perfection, it's never going to come out. And I would just tell them like, you'll know when it's time for the book to go out because you'll know when the story is done. But my only advice is like, please do not strive to be literally absolutely perfect or flawless because there's not a single perfect or flawless book or work of art out there. And I will tell them if you keep changing everything and sitting on it for too long, it's never going to come out. But also on the contrary, I tell people take your time to master it, to shape and mold it. But I will say if you sit on it too long, the anxiety is going to keep building up and building up and building up because this book almost didn't come out.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, it
Yeah.
almost didn't come out. This almost sat in my hard drive because I was just so afraid of what if nobody else likes it? What if it gets torn apart? Because I've been on Book Talk and I've seen some books put out there by very well-known publishers and authors that's been completely ripped to shreds. And to be honest with you, and I'm putting out an independent book at first I was trying to get signed, for a quick minute there, but I realized that if I do get signed to some publishers, it's kind of like signing a record contract.
Yeah.
You lose your rights, you don't make nearly as much as you should or could, or they give you like, $25,000 and you got to live off of that for, an unprecedented amount of time. And then if you get $25,000 up front, yes, that's a lot of money, but then at the same time, don't quit your day job because
No, that's
$25,000 ain't
yeah.
enough.
No, I'm a firm believer in building your own table.
Right.
Um, that's just me. That's who I am. And if you can eliminate the middleman. And I guess with today's technologies and the miracle of Google, there's so many ways of learning how to build your own table, so to speak.
Yes.
Um, and I'm a firm believer in building your own table because in our community, when I was introduced to Black Wall Street, I thought this was Mecca of all Meccas.
Right.
And I was talking to my brother one day and I was like, why can't we get it back? He was like, we're not going to get it back because of integration. And this is not a PSA on being segregated again, but this is more so of for us as a community,
Right.
because we still have limitations. Let's call a spade a spade. We need to
Hmm.
do a research on how to build our own table in the event that anybody of any race or class tries to
Hmm.
destroy what we took the time to build.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you can eliminate the middleman, then the middleman can't say, well, this is what I did, so this is what I should get. Or I don't know if you remember or you read or heard when Taraji P. Henson was just venting about the pay that she was receiving
Yes, I
and
did.
the fact that she had to audition to play Shogavery in the remake of The Color Purple, considering her all that she has done in the entertainment industry.
Right.
And I don't know what comedian, I think it was Michael Jai White, he said that's all on her agent. Her agent didn't bid for her the way that he should have, considering that
Right.
she's, I think, a Golden Globe winner. She, I mean, like her, I think she got like a 30-year history as an actress. And the fact that she still has to do a screen test or audition for a role, because when I saw that I didn't see the movie, but when I saw that she was playing, I'm like, yeah, that's a perfect part for her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but that we don't have to have a Taraji P. Henson moment if we are our own agent, if we market ourselves and say,
Right.
this is my product, this is why it's good, this is why you should, pay for it, and then nobody can tell us no if we are publishing it ourselves. Like,
That.
I know my work is good, so I'm going to publish myself and put it out there. I don't need an agent to tell me there's no market for your book, because my first book
Right.
was a love story. So you mean to tell me an agent told me there's no market? So you mean to tell me there's no market for love? Nah.
What? Wait, what made him even say that? Like that don't make no sense because there's a huge market for love stories out there. So why would
Yep.
he even say it? I'm confused.
Be you know
No, you can say it. No, be blunt. Be blunt. Don't
honestly,
hold back.
I honestly believe it was color, because my two characters, my book is called A Period of Time, my first book, and
Hmm.
it's a love story. I call it the ultimate love story. It's about a woman that writes a 7-book series. A woman is an author. She writes a 7-book series, and it becomes a movie. And the actor
Mm.
in the movie is a famed actor who was on a 10-year hiatus, and this movie was going to bring him out of his hiatus. This is the storyline.
Right.
And it's their love story. And it's a 30-year love story between
Right.
just them two. We think of our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our aunties that got 40, 50 years in. You know what I mean? Um, that love story. Like, who doesn't like a good love story? My favorite
Right.
love story, and people laugh at me, my favorite love story is Rocky and Adrian, because that was, if you think about, if you watch, I'm a big Rocky fan. I'm
Right.
all things Rocky. Rocky is the gospel in my house. But one of the things I love about it is the love story between Rocky and Adrian. Here was this bum from the neighborhood with no job, no education, and
Right.
here was this woman who was painfully shy, who was basically turning into a spinster.
Right.
He just saw her as extremely beautiful, extremely pretty. And when they went on their first date, it was one date and then the rest was history. There was no separation. There was no get out my house. There was none of that. It was all the, I mean, if you watch the whole franchise in Rocky Balboa, the sixth installment of Rocky, Adrian has passed away and he's shook. So you think
Wow.
from 1975 until 2006.
Wow. Wow.
Those characters that Sylvester Stallone made, Rocky and Adrian, it was that love story. And if you remember in the first movie after he fights Apollo, he doesn't talk about how he went the distance. He's calling out his woman's name. I want my woman. And she's running up to the ring and nothing else matters but them two. Love. So, and then of course the Rocky theme is a love story within yourself. So if this is if this came out in 1975, 1976, when I tried to publish my book in 2013 about two characters who are in love and their
Mhm.
30-year love story, you mean to tell me in the world of publishing that there is no market for love?
That's BS. Definitely sounds like it was color related. Like there were. It's not that there was no market for your book. What they're saying, what they really tried to say was that there's not a lot of white people that are going to try to buy a black love story.
And the thing was, my characters are interracial. She's black and he's white.
And to be quite honest with you, I definitely see why now. Like I really see why they're gonna look at that and be like, "Yo, like not a lot of people are gonna want to buy this story because not a lot of people are gonna want to hear about interracial couple or relationship." Because let's be honest with you, a lot of people are still low key racist, whether they want to admit it or not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at we had a biracial president. So
No,
so
I
that's
got you.
why I'm a firm believer in building your own table, because now I am now the CEO and founder of a publishing company for independent authors. So therefore, I can publish any book whenever I want to,
Right.
and nobody's going to tell me no because I built my own table. So that's why it's like, as an independent author, it's now you have that platform. No, I'm not going to say platform. You have the opportunity
Right.
to promote yourself. And then also, what I do like about your content is you are working. A lot of authors that I see, or who I've met, don't work.
Hmm.
They
Right.
have a 9 to 5 job that pays the mortgage and the light bill. But to really promote their brand as a author, like my brand, I am E. Davis. So
Right.
I need to promote the E. Davis brand. As an independent author, we need to understand that we are also now an independent contractor.
Yep.
So we have to go to work to bring in the money. And the money may not be monetary, the money may be the views and the shares and the likes. And then that may bring attention to our pages that can bring in the sales, such as I did with your page.
Oh, thank you.
I
Yeah.
stumbled upon it. I was like, okay. And I was like, huh. And I said, okay. And I stumbled on your post, and then I went to your page and I saw I said, that's it. Because you, as a independent author slash independent contractor, you were working.
Yes. Yes, and to be quite honest with you, I think that's one thing is that that's one problem with the independent authors is that they write these books and some of them are great books, some of them are spectacular books. And some of these authors spend thousands of dollars to get their book edited, to get the cover, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? And they're not really utilizing the marketing tools that is social media. you're not investing into social media. And I'm investing into social media. And to be quite honest with you, I've sold quite a few books because of social media, you know? And I just, my advice to, independent authors is please utilize the social media thing. And if you don't know about it, please, do your research and find out, because the thing with social media, we don't know how long we're going to have it for, because they're already trying to take away TikTok. So we don't know how long we're going to have these social media platforms for, or how they're going to change within the next 10 years. And my advice to those people is utilize them now, and definitely get on there and make posts at least a few times a week, and try to make it as engaging or as funny as possible, and make sure they're of good quality. Otherwise, people are not going to watch it. And that's what I make sure that I do. I make sure that I put out content that is good quality and that people will actually watch. And some of my posts are funny and are, related to comedy, but at the same time, other authors can relate to it. My content is relatable, and it's not just stuff that I make for other authors, it's also stuff that I make for myself, to remind myself, hey, get on your stuff. And to be quite honest with you, I don't see enough authors promoting themselves like that, And I feel like more of us need to be more and more present on social media, because that's where everybody's at right now. That's the new you know what I'm saying? Because 20 years ago we couldn't market like this. We had to go through publishers and things like that, because there were independent authors, but they didn't have the tools that they have now.
Right. Right. No, I like that. You got to go to work. I love it. I fuss at even my authors that I publish, like, come on, you got to make this money. We got to
Right.
promote. You got to maybe do a live. You may have to talk about your book. You may have to do an excerpt reading on Instagram, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I said, TikTok may be leaving, and that just hit the wave maybe 2019, 2020. So it wasn't
Yes.
that long. I don't even know who's still using Snapchat. So it's just like, and then Twitter, it's, I mean, people are putting videos and things on Twitter. Utilize YouTube, utilize whatever it is that needs to be utilized. If this is really your passion, you know what I mean? Hit the churches up, hit the neighborhoods, hit the block parties,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Um, I wear my branding shirts on the weekends as if that's my uniform. So if I'm going if I'm going to grocery store, I got my gear. It's because I want to draw the conversation. Okay, what's writer's block? Who is E. Davis? And this is the perfect introduction to say, this is who I am, this is what we do. And you have to work. And that's something is very powerful, because again, you have to build your table, because what happens if that job goes away?
Yep.
That 9 to 5 job.
Exactly.
What happens if the company is no longer and you have to get a severance pay? That severance pay is only going to last for so long.
Yep.
You could fall on your hustle. You could fall on your books. You can fall on your brand to build. That's basically what happened with the one guy on Instagram. He got fired from his job, and then he started making these Instagram videos, and he don't say anything, and just his facial expressions. I can't think of his name,
Mhm.
and he's now a millionaire.
Wow.
I can't think of
That's
his name. He's a brother. It'll be something that it'll be a video that he posted, something silly that somebody's doing,
right.
and he may try to imitate what they're doing, but his facial expression is priceless.
Mm.
Okay, and he was terminated from his job, and now this is what he's doing. You got to utilize your work. So,
Yes.
what else can we say to the authors? What do you do? I'll say this. What do you do when you get writer's block?
When I get writer's block,
Yeah.
honestly, I I tell myself, just give yourself a break and come back to it within a couple hours, or even give yourself a day.
Mhm.
Just take a break. I just take a break and I go do something. I go occupy my time, and the reason because of that is because I have so many ideas flowing freely, and I've been like that all my life. I've always been a very imaginative person, and I'm like, if I go do that, something's gonna pop up, something's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And I give myself time to think about what I want to do next. Because usually when I get writer's block, it's simply because I don't know what I'm gonna, I don't know what else I'm gonna put. And it's just or like I may have stuff on my mind or whatever. And I will say another tool is meditation.
Okay.
That's one tool. And another tool is, maybe listening to music, go out to a park or something. Go somewhere quiet. Go somewhere quiet and very private. Go take a walk somewhere. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? Because it's going to, if you truly are a writer, the idea is going to come back to you.
okay.
It is. It may take a little bit of time, but it will come back to you. Another thing that you can do that I also used to do is go back to your old work and just start reading some of your old work.
Oh, wow. That's different. I never heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes I do that. Like when I was writing when I'm writing the sequel to this book, sometimes I'll just go through this book and like read a couple chapters, or you know what I mean, like read a couple things from here, and that'll also sometimes get me going.
Oh, wow. So what you do is you go, I guess you go into the history of your work,
Yeah, you
especially
could
in the
do that.
series.
Yeah, yes, yes. I do that, but then I also will even go and read another book because I can also, that also could get my juices flowing. Like sometimes, like I may not even read this. I have a copy of the Hunger Games. I may read a chapter of the Hunger
Hunger
Games. You know
Games
what I'm
is
saying?
life.
Now, now also get me flowing, get my, get my wheels going.
Oh, so okay. Yeah, I read the Hunger Games. That's one of my books. Um, I just know me. I can't read things and then go to bed right after because my mind is still, brother. I was ducking in my pillows, thinking that they see me, making sure Katniss. I'm like, listen, I'm on your team. Don't point that bow and arrow at me, sis. So yeah, I read. Yeah,
Right.
Hunger
Yeah, I
Games.
got you.
Yeah, Hunger Games is real. Catching Fire was the favorite of the three.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's a lot of people's favorite.
yeah, because when she turned around, that dress turned into fire. I was like, and then I'm a fire sign, so that's all I need to
Yes.
hands to shenanigans. But listen, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time. We're gonna wrap up the author chat with E. Davis, and you'll see this information on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs. You can find AJ Kelly. I'm gonna put his Instagram info on here. He is on Instagram. Follow him, like him, get his book. It is available on Amazon, Axferial. He is the guy. And here's the thing: some of his, I will say some, most of his posts they're funny because I can relate. He's just an awesome, awesome individual. All right, thank you so much, AJ. Stay on.
uh,